It is June 13th, 2023, and I wanted to start off this episode by doing my best to try and talk about something that recently happened here that's specific to Pittsburgh, to the Pittsburgh area, and something that has only recently happened to me and someone who I've only recently known. There's so many different ways that I want to talk about this, but I really don't know how to talk about this. I'm dragging this out as long as I can because I I want to give all my respect as much as I can and understand that just there's certain moments in your life and in your career, my very young career, where there's things that affect you, and this is one of them. On June 12th, 2023, um, Stan Savran passed away. And it for people who do not know, like I did not know before coming here to Pittsburgh, there's a group of broadcasters and media personalities, people in the media from Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh area, that are on the Mount Rushmore. Now, obviously, like I said before, I'm from Connecticut. I did not know anything about Pittsburgh broadcasters or anything. I obviously didn't listen. But after living in Pittsburgh for almost 3 years, 3 years, I came to understand what it's like to work here in the media, but also to know people here in the media. Stan Savran, I was his producer for his noon to 2 p.m. weekly talk show, Monday through Fridays. And I would spend hours with him every day. And before and after the show, we would communicate. And I think one of the best things that you can say about a person who you do not know, I wasn't I wouldn't say starstruck when I first met him, but it was emotional for me to meet him because there was a time when I was not working in the radio industry, not working in the media industry. I was working in retail, as fun as that sounds. And I was looking to try and get a job in radio, and I saw uh started looking up radio stations in Pittsburgh to see if I could reach out to see if I could maybe work for one of these places. And ESPN 970 was hiring, and I sent Stan a message. I saw his email address on the website. Sent him an address saying, "Hey, my name is Zachary Moore. I'm a recent college graduate. If you need a new producer or you need somebody to do social media for you, I'd be willing. Um, he never sent a response back, but that was almost a full year, about 6, 8 months before I would eventually work there with him. And I never told him that story just because I didn't feel like there was an appropriate time. You didn't need to know that. It was when I got hired there, like I said earlier, it was emotional because it was this full circle moment. And then over the course of time, I got to know him as a coworker. I didn't spend any time with him outside of work, but I sure thought about him outside of work because he had a lot of health issues. And I just want to spend a couple of minutes trying to pay respects for the man who I knew differently than some people. His family knows him differently than I know him. His friends know him differently than I do. But during that stretch of time for almost a year, I knew him as the person who I see at 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. Come in and sit down and we go over the show together, what he wants to do. And he was very nice, very calm, and always said thank you. And if I messed up or if technology wasn't working, the only thing he would ask is, hey, is it working now? Which when you're 3 minutes before a show starts and technology's not working, you're running around studio to studio trying to get things working. And he's walking around and he says, hey, is everything all right? In those moments, just something as simple as that, not yelling or screaming or trying to throw blame around, oh, well, this is your fault. He would never do that. It's very nice. And there's so many good qualities that I saw about him working with him that I saw as a coworker. I would say one of the more common things was his battle with his health. We would do a show and he would immediately leave to go to a health appointment, and it didn't matter what it was, he wouldn't want to take a day off. Whether he had worked a Steelers game and then he had to come in and do the show the next day, he would fight my boss to do that show. He would say, no, I'm going to do this. I need to, but my boss would say, no, I'm saying you cannot come into work. And that's what it took to get him to stop working. And um, sitting in meetings with him, and he's talking about, I have this health appointment I need to get to, so I can't record a podcast or something like that. Just puts things into perspective for myself, somebody who has only really had one incident with my health, with my thyroid. I have Hashimoto's, but I just can't imagine him doing that job, doing radio, which is something that he loved, talking about the Steelers, the Penguins, the Pirates, and then to have all these other issues outside of work. And he never made an excuse. He never, never, never complained. He never made up an excuse of why the show was any worse, and it wasn't. It never decreased in quality. He never showed up late or started to show up late and say, it's because I didn't sleep well last night because I had this or that or that. There was none of that. Came to work today every day and he busted his ass. And it was a treat for me to spend even such a small amount of time. And it was my first job in radio, and I could not have been with a more professional, more gracious man than Stan Savran, and taught me a lot of things about how to interact with people and how to treat a talent, especially somebody who every single time we would do shows, somebody would call in and they would say, "Hey man, I don't want to go on air. I just want to tell you, I've been listening to Stan since the 80s with this show that he did, with that show that he did. I'm such a huge fan. I'm calling from Los Angeles, California. Just let him know that I appreciate him and I love him." Every single day that would happen. And over the course of time, I really started to realize how special he was to the city. And then I just feel that much more grateful that I got the chance to work with him, because there's very few people that you'll meet, especially in the industry that is entertainment, that are gracious, that ask you how you're doing when you're really stressed out, and then the show's over and you got all the stuff that you have to do. He would never raise his voice. He would never get mad if we had to record a commercial after the fact. It was very calm, very polite, and he was just the greatest coworker I could ever ask to work with, because he reminded me of some people in my life, particularly with the medical things. And so it just hurts that I haven't been able to speak to him. And I just think about the last time that we worked together, that last day. There was we are just talking about the Pirates. Are the Pirates going to be good? Who knows? And in the pre-show meetings during that time, you're talking about the Steelers, saying, can the Steelers do X or Y? Talking about the NBA in our pre-show meeting. Who do you like? It's a great man, and I can't even begin to express my opinion of him when in comparison to others who have worked with this man for 20 times as long as I did. I can't do justice to heap as much praise as I can, but I do hope that me speaking on it shines some light on it to some people who may not know him. There are a lot of things that you encounter when you're young in your career. You'll encounter a bad boss. You'll encounter a toxic workplace. You'll encounter not getting paid enough. You'll encounter not making any friends at your job because everybody's either way older than you or everybody's all over the place and you never interact with them. And to come to a city and to be able to work with somebody like that, somebody who was a megastar that I didn't even know. I had no idea before coming to Pittsburgh what Stan Savran meant to Pittsburgh, to Western Pennsylvania, to Cleveland, Ohio. And I could never do due diligence in heaping praise on him. I'm not qualified to talk about him, but I feel it's important to discuss this what happened. And since yesterday, I thought about the conversations that we had. The I wouldn't call them arguments, but we would debate things. He wasn't a big fan of the Browns, and I was. And I would say, hey, I think the Browns could actually win the division this year. And then we would go back and forth. And no, 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 this or that. And it was fun. It was enjoyable. And he was somebody who, over the course of that time, I really started to look up to. Because while he was in pain and he was hurting, and he could make every single excuse to not come into work, when he was being asked not to come into work and he fought and he refused to do so. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen somebody as famous and as powerful and as rich and as well liked and as revered as Stan Sabrin. And on just on a day-to-day basis, you can see why. He was good at his job and he worked his ass off. But like I said, I only knew him as a coworker. I do wish that I could have met him earlier and really understood what he was as a man. What his thoughts are about different subjects. Fortunately, I was unable to have that, and I am unable to have that with him. But to be with somebody like that for so long, in my mind, spent almost a year with him, and never had a coworker that worked as hard as him. Never had a coworker that was as understanding or as nice. He was a great man, a great guy, and that's how I know him. I don't know him for the sports beat days back in the 80s or his interviews with Steelers players and Steelers legends or his coverage on AT&T Sports. I don't know any of that stuff. I know going into the studio at 11 a.m. talking about, hey, all right, what's up first at 12? What do you need me to get for you? What sound? And so we'd be in the office and I'd be sitting there and people would come up. There was actually a funny thing. We had Kurt Angle, the former pro wrestler, was at the studios and he had been recording some commercials. I didn't see him come in. I only saw him left. But as he left, he walked by and I see him and I see the neck. The neck is what I saw first. I see it and I say, huh, is that Kurt Angle? Turns out it was. And he walks out. And I was all standing. I was like, hey, I think that was just Kurt Angle. And then Sam was like, oh man, I missed him. And then he just goes on a 5-minute story about covering him and just had the nicest things to say. about this guy, and there's many times where uh NFL players or whoever would come onto the show. And there was one time when we were doing a remote broadcast, and Stan was doing his show from the Steelers facility. And this is when Franco Harris's number was retired by the Steelers. And Stan was sitting there. And then Franco, his number is retired, speaks at the podium, and then he comes off. And I'm listening to Stan, and he's on the air, and he's saying, I'll try and get him over here. And he calls him over. Franco comes over. And I mean, when I was in Connecticut, I knew who Franco Harris was. That's somebody that I knew from a kid in a small town in Connecticut. And he comes on with Stan, and immediately he starts heaping praise on Stan. And he's saying, they say us players are good at our jobs, but nobody ever talks about the media. You people who help keep our game elevated, who bring fans to our game, and you, Stan, are one of the best in the business. You've always been fair. You've always been nice to me. And he goes on and he gives a 5-minute speech about the importance and significance of Stan Savran. And I'm sitting in a cold studio listening to this. And I'm saying, how does this guy know anything about this guy? I work with this guy, and this guy's a Hall of Fame running back, one of the greatest Steelers players in the history of the universe. And he knows the guy who I work with, the guy who I spend 3 hours with a day. How does he know him? And wait, he respects him? I didn't. I can see why he does, but I didn't know that their paths had crossed. I didn't know that Stan had that much of an impact on this region. And I don't think I'll ever know, because I wasn't here during the 80s, 90s. I didn't watch every broadcast that he did. I could only speak to that about a year of hearing him on his show. And I say that all to hopefully provide an inch of a praise for Stan Savran. I hope that if you do not know who he is, you look into him, you search his name up, and you just see the outpour of love that this region has put into this man who I knew for a very short amount of time, but he had a significant impact on my life. A man who I told my parents about. I would text him and I would tell him, just, hey, this guy's a massive fan. We would be in a restaurant in the Strip District here in Pittsburgh. And we're sitting down, we're having pizza. And on the TV, they're doing a story about Pittsburgh Penguins. And I'm just looking at it and I'm watching it. And then Stan shows up. And I yell to my parents, I say, look, 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 that's Stan, that's Stan. That's the guy I produce for. And my parents are like, oh man, that's so cool. It was. But Stan was more so than just, oh, look who I work with. He was somebody who I wanted to be like, who I wanted to emulate, because he had the respect of every single person that's in the building. And every time I would go into work 3 times a week, somebody would say, "Hey, man, you do not know. You're working with a legend here, man. You're working with a legend here. This guy's one of the greatest broadcasters in Pittsburgh and in history." And I didn't appreciate it at that time as much as I do now. And I hope that my words and me speaking on this can shine some light on a man who was nothing short of a legend, nothing short of a pure, true professional, somebody who fought, fought to do what he loved. Even if that came with him having some negative health as a response. I hope that me giving a little bit of time dedicated to this man has somehow provided any value to the conversation surrounding this man. And I just wanted to speak on it because I had my own perspective on who this man was, because I knew him in a certain context. I didn't know him as a brother, a sister, an uncle, and a father. I didn't know him as a friend. I only knew him as a coworker. And over that course of time, I grew to respect him because of his character, his work ethic, his professionalism, his desire to get the story right and to not just what's the hot topic? Let's just do that. No, it was every day would come in with something different to talk about. And there were so many times where I messed up and he'd say he was okay. And as a young producer who was so nervous and so afraid of messing up and losing this job that I had spent so long trying to get, 4 years in college, and then coming out of school. I didn't get a radio job coming right out of school, no. But this was the first one, and I could not have had it with a better person. He set the bar very high, and I don't know if anybody will ever be able to reach that. Once again, because of who he was as a person. His sports stakes are irrelevant to me. How he treated me on a day-to-day basis when he wasn't feeling good, when he was tired, when he was upset, when he had shit going on in his life. He never snapped at me. He never made a single comment that could in any way be interpreted as negative towards me. And I appreciate that because I don't know many people who in his circumstance would keep that composure and stay that focused. So I say all that to say thank you to Stan Savran, rest in peace, and I hope that what I've talked about has helped to shine some light on a man who I knew as a coworker, but who many knew as a legend. Rest in peace to Stan Savran. Continuing on, the NBA playoffs are over. Apple has released a new iOS. Well, it hasn't been released for download, but they talked about what its capabilities and features will be. We have machine learning, finding alien civilizations. We have alien civilizations and alien crafts on our planet. And we also have a supernova being watched in real time. And I'll also share some recipes as well. But first, one last thing before I'll jump into the first topic we'll talk about is the NBA. My family, my parents, my brother, my wife, and I are going to Portugal next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to stay there for 10 days, travel all around the country. And going on vacations was something that I was able to do as a young kid. And to say that I'm fortunate enough to have parents that are able to give me that experience of traveling to Aruba, Dominican Republic, the St. Thomas, St. John's, these places that I went to as a kid with my family are some of the best memories that I have. And to have parents that are willing, not only with their financial, but with their time management, able to afford to do something like that, to spend time as a family in these beautiful places, beautiful excursions. And growing up as an adult and realizing just how much it costs, not just financially, but also with time, all the planning previously to what it takes to go on a trip. And I'm beyond thankful to have the ability to do this because I'm part of the 1% of kids who have gone to these countries with my family on these trips. I'm extremely fortunate and I'm extremely lucky. And basically do not take for granted any amount of time that you spend with your family because it's limited. So I'm really looking forward to this trip with Portugal. It's not going to be perfect. Not every day is going to be a 10. There's going to be some times where we're in the middle of some place and they're speaking Portuguese and nobody knows what they're saying, and it's going to be stressful. But I hope to do my best to enjoy it because I don't know how many more of these I'm going to get, you know? Am I ever going to go to Portugal again in my life? I don't know. I definitely know I'm going to go back to the Dominican Republic. Aruba? Am I ever going to go back to Aruba? I don't think so. I do before the end of my life want to visit all seven continents, and I hope by the end of my life I will have accomplished that. And I hope by the end of my life I will have at least had some people listen to the message that I've stated earlier in this podcast, but also the message that I'm stating right now, which is appreciate your family. And for some people, myself included, we are extremely fortunate, and yeah, it's not fair. Life isn't fair. It's not fair that I have these great opportunities to go to a different country and somebody living in the same city as me is not able to because they're a single parent and they have to provide for their child. They can't take time off of work. They work multiple part-time jobs. They don't have benefits and paid time off. They don't have that. They can't miss 2 weeks of their paycheck. And I fortunately am. And that is not lost on me. And I think sometimes in life, when we are afforded these things, that people in other countries, even people in this country, people in your town, in your neighborhood, on your street, are not awarded the same opportunities as you. I don't know how many people in the city of Pittsburgh are going to be going to Portugal next week, but I would have to know that it's greater than one. It's definitely greater than zero. Appreciate your family, appreciate the time that you have with them, even if your relationship isn't perfect. Even if in the past your parents have done you wrong, try your best to find some semblance of good in them. And there's a lot of good in my parents, a lot of good in my brother, a lot of good in my wife. appreciate those times that you spent Thanksgivings, even going back to when I was a kid. Looking back at those times and being like, dang, I really appreciate that my dad was my coach when I was a young child. When he would work and he would come home and he would be my basketball coach, he'd be my baseball coach. It means a lot. And I hope that one day I can provide that same level of support to my kids. But hopefully, when I come back, I'm a little bit fatter. I'm a little bit more tan. And then they're trying to have me shave my beard, although it's not much of a beard, shave my facial hair. And they also say no, I don't even head coverings, I guess I'll call this. Nothing like that in there. So this will be the last podcast that I do. Now, if this is the last podcast that I do, and I think about this very frequently when I fly. If this is the last podcast that I do and the plane goes down, I gotta say like a message, right? Because you don't know. You do not know. If we are in the middle of the ocean and one of the engines goes out, what you can't do anything. Right? You're toast. I'd imagine. I imagine if you're in the middle of the ocean and the plane just goes down in the middle of the how long is it gonna take for the Coast Guard or for somebody to come find you? I don't know why I'm thinking of this. This is definitely not a healthy thing to be thinking about before going on this trip, but I can't help it. I have to let this out, and I can't tell my wife this. And hopefully she doesn't listen to the podcast, but I can't tell my wife this that I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think it will happen, but it is a possibility. I would say it's as close to 100% chance that we get there safely. Yeah, I don't think so, but I feel like I should say something, right? If it does happen. And then the second that there's any turbulence, I'm gonna be thinking of this moment right now and be like, ah, dang. Just a second of turbulence, be up, we're going down. I do not like flying. I do not like it. But what I do like is the NBA playoffs. The Denver Nuggets are your 2022, no, 2023 NBA champions. Now, there is so much praise to be heaped upon the Nuggets. Obviously, we see Nikola Jokic was phenomenal in these final series 30, 14, 7, and about a steal and a block and a half. Jamal Murray was fantastic as well. One of the best running mates we could possibly have. Great assist to turnover ratio 50 assists, 17 turnovers. 21 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 1 steal, 0 blocks for Jamal Murray. Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown are also amazing as well. Christian Braun was very good early on in the series, provided them. And I think this is the finals to perfectly encapsulate what this NBA playoffs was about. This was about two teams in which it wasn't because of their stars that they won. Nikola Jokic is a star, and he's a big reason why they won. However, if he does not have Aaron Gordon if he does not have Michael Porter Jr., if he does not have Bruce Brown, they do not make it here. They do not make it. And the exact same thing is true for the Miami Heat. If Gabe Vincent, if Max Strus, Duncan Robinson, if they're not having these performances that they are in the playoffs, Kyle Lowry for the Heat as well. If they're not having these performances, certainly not the Heat, and definitely the Denver Nuggets are not making it to the finals. So while the Nuggets are led by two mega stars in Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, they do not make it here. You see other teams that were in the playoffs. Celtics, two stars, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. See the 76ers, James Harden, Joel Embiid. Still, it comes down to what can your bench players do? What can the other people surrounding you do? Because Nikola Jokic, yeah, he can average 30 points a game, and Jamal Murray can average 25, but you need to be able to score 110, 120 points to win some of these games and play good defense. That's where these other players can step in and help. And luckily, Nikola Jokic is a great playmaker, and he has the ability to make those people around him much, much better. You can look assists for 100 possessions. But this is a team in the Nuggets that was just outpacing, and you can see about 120 points scored, 111 allowed. True shooting percentage, second. Turnover rate, the lowest, Denver Nuggets. An absolutely wonderful playoff series. And now let's talk about Nikola Jokic. I feel like for every playoff series, there's always a performance that breaks a record, right? There's always some record breaking thing. And to kind of talk about the entire playoffs as a whole, if you remember back in round one, Steph Curry set the record for the most points scored in a game 7. I think it was exactly 50. But you have those performances, and that Sacramento and Golden State series is one of my favorites. Precisely for the fact that I thought game 7 going in, the Kings are going to win. I felt as though the Kings had all of the momentum. And the Warriors started the game off, or they started the series off, I should say, looking like, oh no, they could be had. And the Kings were looking fantastic. Kings go up 2-0 on them. But then the Warriors come back. Game 4 was very close. De'Aaron Fox looked absolutely fantastic in this series, and it looked like maybe Steph Curry wasn't going to be able to take his team there. I mean, you see what he's doing in these games. You look at game 6, a game in which they lost. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole. And this should have been a sign for later series that, hey, maybe this team is just not consistent. Seven points from Jordan Poole. Played 26 minutes for you. 22 points for Klay Thompson on 8 of 20 shooting, 2 of 9 from 3. Just unacceptable. unacceptable. And once those games or those types of games start piling up, it goes downhill. But anyways, to heap some praise on Nikola Jokic, an absolute fantastic postseason. He is the first NBA player to lead the playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists. The first player, not LeBron, not Magic Johnson, not Michael Jordan, not Kareem, not anybody. Nikola Jokic, first player to do that. And he deserves it. He played fantastic in every series, and it ended up with him winning. All the credit goes to Jokic for being good, but also credit to the people that they have on their bench. There's been many, many things that are interesting. And one thing I do want to say about the Heat and specifically Jimmy Butler, fantastic that and I'll talk about it more so in a second, but that win over the Bucks in that first round, that was probably the single most important series besides the finals. And the reason is because the Bucks, yes, Giannis was injured, but taking out the Bucks took out probably, besides the Nuggets, the best team. Giannis is maybe the best player. I would say he's better than Jokic, but which now seems like a hot take, but it has not been for the last 2, 3 seasons. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say that they're both 1A, 1B, but I would say Giannis is better than Nikola Jokic. But anyways, that first round series, and then for them to come in from the play-in and then go and beat the Bucks in 5 games, not 7 games, but 5 games. It's something that I've talked about on the show, so I won't go into super depth about it, but that was also something you should give a lot of props to them for. So now let's go back. Let's stop the share and let's see if we can pull this up. Let's see. All right. How do I go? Let me make this full screen. All right. This is one of the most incredible stories in NBA history. The Denver Nuggets went from a conference finals run in the 2020 bubble to a second round exit in 2021 to a first round exit in 2022. Most teams who go through something like this would do something drastic, blow up the team, fire the head coach, trade their star player. But Denver believed in destiny. Jamal Murray came back from ACL surgery. Michael Porter Jr. came back from back surgery. Jeff Green came back from a 5-hour open heart surgery. These are career-ending injuries for most players. Belief brought them to their destiny today. Aaron Gordon spent 70% of his career in Orlando being known for nothing more than second best dunker. When he got traded, 95% of fans couldn't care less, but as destiny would have it, he played the biggest game of his career in another Florida zip code. Nobody has played for more NBA teams than Ish Smith. 13 years and 13 teams later, he finally reaches his destiny. Jokic was snubbed from a third straight MVP. Hindsight is 2020, but he became the best player in the world in 20 playoff games. His true destiny, Finals MVP. This team was built through the draft. They filled in the gaps with a mesh of misunderstood talents. They committed to a beautiful brand of basketball. They beat an 8th 4th, 7th, and 8th seed? No. They beat Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. They have no chance of becoming a dynasty, except they joined the Lakers, Warriors, and Spurs as the only teams in the last 25 years with less than 5 losses in a title run. That's a little bit of a stretch, but the Nuggets could have fired their coach. Absolutely. Could have split up Jokic and Murray. They could have quit. Instead, they took a hard look at themselves and believed it was their destiny to win a championship together. It's clutch points on the Instagram. And then there's one more, right? As you can watch some of these highlights right here. Let me find this next one for the Miami Heat. I really liked these when I saw them. Here we go. Jimmy Butler isn't going to make any excuses or feel like he deserves an appreciation post, but we have to talk about this. I do feel like for the majority of the playoffs, it was about Jimmy Butler, right? I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal in the Buck series and played out of his mind in the Eastern Conference Finals. So here's clutch points again. Jimmy Butler isn't going to make any excuses or feel like he deserves an appreciation post, but we have to talk about it. The Denver Nuggets have won the championship, but the Miami Heat have won the hearts of NBA fans everywhere. They had a bottom 5 offense all season, injuries at the worst possible times, but the craziest part, 9 undrafted players. Do we understand how insane that is? 9 players who all 30 NBA teams pick 60 other players over. If you want a definition for Miami Heat culture, it's overlooked but not overmatched. These Heat went 1-1 in the play-in tournament. They lost to Atlanta, and then they were down 3 with 3 minutes left in their season at the time against the Chicago Bulls. But they still found a way to advance to the playoffs. 13 teams had higher odds than Miami to win the championship entering the playoffs. They faced the title favorites in round 1 and lost one of their best scorers in game 1. Don't forget, Jimmy Butler did get hurt in the playoffs. Also, Tyler Hero basically played no minutes because of injury for the Miami Heat in the playoffs. Did not play a single minute in the NBA Finals. But they still found a way to beat the Bucks in 5. They got through a hard-nosed Knicks team just to face the team with the second highest title odds in the East. They almost swept them, then almost got reverse swept by them. But they still found a way to beat the Celtics in 7 and become the second 8 seed to ever make the finals. The Heat become the only team to win a game in Denver this postseason. And even though that's when the magic stopped, Heat culture never stopped because it's always been there. 6 NBA finals in 12 years, most playoff wins in the NBA since 2003, most double-digit comebacks in the playoffs in the last 25 years. Shout out to the Miami Heat. All right, let's continue on. I won't talk about any off-season stuff because I am not going to die. It could be for later, but yeah, just one final thing about this game. It was looking real suspect. And I kept saying to myself, because in that first quarter, I think it was like Nikola Jokic scored like 2 points or something. Like they were able to keep him in check somewhat. But then just over the course of the game, they had other guys step up. Bruce Brown, if you watch the game back, he got a rebound off a Jamal Murray miss and he put it back up. And that's what sealed the game for them. So once again, having those people be at your side is very helpful. All right. Supernova time. A newly discovered supernova can be watched as it develops in real time, online, and for free. This particular galaxy and supernova can be difficult to view in the night sky without the right condition or telescope. However, luckily, the Virtual Telescope Project will live stream the cosmic explosion on its website and YouTube channel as it develops via its power robotic telescopes based in Rome, Italy. Here you can see right here. This is SN, what is it? SN 2023 IXF supernova. I believe it was actually discovered by a Japanese astronomer, but one of the largest and brightest seen for a decade. The exploding star was first spotted in an image taken by experienced supernova hunter Koichi Itagaki, from Yamagata, Japan on Friday, May 19th, 2023. The initial observation was followed up by the Zwicky Transient Facility telescopes in California, which confirmed the discovery a day later. Yeah, so now you can see Hubble. So and I've talked about supernovas in the past. It's a star that explodes out into space. And the process of that explosion helps to create new elements. And part of that explosion is actually inside of us right now. Some of our very DNA is created based on things that are made in these massive explosions. But what's important about this is this person was able to photograph and find they do it. It wasn't like a live stream of this particular spot, but he took a picture and he was able to see that there was this explosion, as you can see right here. No, that's not what I wanted to do. But you can see right here in this galaxy M101, that little explosion right up there in the corner. While we discover many supernova candidates every year, having one of them visible through small telescopes is exceptional. Thanks to its distance of just 20 million light years from us. One of the most beautiful cosmic islands out there, making the vision even more precious and unique since it's explosively burst onto the scene. Astronomers have also been studying the supernova with more sophisticated and out-of-this-world equipment, including the Hubble Space Telescope. If you want to, yeah, Rotor 7 Ursa Major, yeah. So this is all. If you want to look at it, please do. And then here are some video recommendations. This is Anton Petrov. I've talked about him on the podcast previously, but here's a video of he did speaking about it, where you can see in real time this explosion, which I thought was very cool. So make sure you go check out his video. All right, moving on. Dyson spheres, something I have not talked about on this podcast, something that I first heard about when I was in college. And we were talking about the Drake equation, which is an equation where you can plug in numbers to see about how many intelligent civilizations there are. And I've definitely talked about that on this podcast. But yeah, so Dyson spheres are a basically major way to get a lot of energy from a star. So, and this article will explain it. So far, no one has found evidence of intelligent aliens elsewhere in the cosmos, but if they do exist, they might be hanging out on Dyson spheres circling husk of sunlight stars called white dwarfs scattered throughout the Milky Way, a new paper argues. Based on what that search turns up, astronomers could estimate how many advanced civilizations lurk in the galaxy. Any advanced civilization needs energy. for food, transport, conflict, comfort, convenience. Currently, Earth's 7.8 billion use around 580 million joules of energy every year, equivalent to the energy output of almost 14,000 million tons of oils. Indeed, almost all human energy comes from fossil fuels, as we lack the technological savvy to rely on the largest generator of energy in the solar system, the sun. If humans covered every square inch of Earth's surface with solar panels, that would generate more than 10 to the 17th power joules of energy per second. That would still be losing the majority of energy radiated by the sun, about 10 to the 26th power joules per second. This is the motivation behind Dyson spheres, named for the famed physicist Freeman Dyson, who developed the idea in 1960. If an advanced civilization really wants to harness the awesome energetic outputs of their home star, they have to build megastructures to capture it, blocking out at least some of the star's light and converting that energy into other useful things. Dyson's original proposal of a solid sphere doesn't work because of stability issues, as it would be impossible to keep the star at the center, and the entire sphere would disintegrate due to extreme tidal and rotational stresses. Even so, it's easy to imagine an advanced species building rings or swarms of giant solar panels covered structures to get the job done. Let's keep going, keep going, going. If Dyson spheres do exist, they would likely be hard to find because there are so many stars that must be searched. The signal for the Dyson sphere will likely be very faint compared to the star about which it orbits. Just what is that signal? The presence of a Dyson sphere around a white dwarf will have two effects. If it's large enough or close enough to the star, it will block the light arriving to Earth just as transiting exoplanets do. But such Dyson spheres might also add a signal from infrared radiation. The megastructures will absorb radiation from the white dwarf and convert that energy into other things. Since no conversion is 100% efficient, this process will leave behind some waste heat that will escape as infrared light. Surprisingly, we have already found many white dwarfs with excessive infrared emissions, but that is due to dust in those systems, not megastructures. According to the research paper, existing surveys of white dwarfs have found no evidence of Dyson spheres. Given the total number of white dwarfs that we expect to inhabit the Milky Way, Zuckerman estimates that no more than 3% of habitable planets around sun-like stars give rise to a civilization that chooses to build a Dyson sphere around the resulting white dwarf. However, there are so many planets around sun-like stars that this calculation only provides an upper limit of 9 million potential white dwarf sphere-building civilizations in the Milky Way. What? That's a lot. That's a lot. Some astronomers, including me, think that technological life may be a very rare occurrence. Obviously. Indeed, we might even possess the most advanced technology in our Milky Way galaxy, but no one knows, so it is worth searching for evidence. The chances that this is an actual thing, this is not something that I don't think our civilization will do in my lifetime or your lifetime, unless you're listening to this at a later date, which I appreciate. If your name is Jonathan and you're listening to this in 20, 30, 56, I appreciate it. But in the meantime, maybe in 2300, they have Dyson spheres surrounding our sun. But as of right now, we do not. And also, if there was a Dyson sphere around our sun, who gets access to that power? Let's say NASA throws a thing up there, and China throws a thing up there, and they have multiple Dyson spheres around the sun. Wouldn't it make sense? It makes sense both ways, but it would also make sense that whoever put the probe out there put their butt on the line to send something up, that they have the right to that particular Dyson sphere. However, since we're talking about the sun and the sheer amount of impossibly large amount of energy that is being released, I feel as though it would only take one or two small Dyson sphere. I'm not talking about, as you can see in this picture right here, looks like the whole sun is mostly covered, about 80% of it is covered. I don't think we would need that. I would think we would need a fairly large sized solar panel array close to the sun, but we wouldn't need to completely cover the sun. That would not be something that we would have to do. And I'd imagine we could also put it in orbit so that it would never block off the sun's light or the sun's heat from reaching Earth, so that it wouldn't affect us here on Earth. Because if you have something that's blocking not only the light from the sun, that's also going to block the heat. And we do not want that. But I do not think we're anywhere close to being able to build Dyson spheres to go around the sun. But if there is alien civilizations out there that are far more, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ahead of us, why wouldn't they use this? Unless they have discovered a different fuel source. Moving on, this is a cool story that I saw about this AI, artificial intelligence camera, which is a pretty cool idea. Seems no place has been left untouched by artificial intelligence. After essentially replacing writers, coders, creative artists, now AI is coming for yet another subject that fuels our social media interaction: the camera lens. Social media without cameras would be a sad and desolate place. However, now with AI, one may no longer need a lens that forms the core of the photography experience. Introducing Paragraphica, the world's first context-to-image camera that visualizes a photo based on location data and AI. The device comes as a physical unit and a virtual camera that users can try. What is Paragraphica and how does it work? According to the official website, camera works by collecting location data with the help of open APIs, application programming interfaces. It uses information such as time of the day, address, weather, and places in the vicinity. Paragraphica writes a paragraph based on the combination of all of these days. Later, using the text-to-image AI, the camera converts the paragraph into a photo. Interesting, the photo is not just any AI rendition. It is, according to the website, a complex and nuanced reflection of the location the user is at. Or, in simpler terms, the image is how the AI sees that place. According to the maker, the photos capture similar moods and tones, but they are not exactly similar to the location. All right, so here's the camera right here. This is Bjorn Garmin introducing Paragraphica, a camera that takes photos using location data. It describes the place you are at and then converts it into an AI-generated photo. Let's watch this right here. Let's check this thing out. This thing is sweet. Setting the viewfinder. Look at that. There's no lens. There's no pixels being captured. That's one of the coolest things. And artificial intelligence in general is a good force. It's something that I think is overwhelmingly positive on a low level. I use ChatGPT very, very frequently. I use it I wouldn't say I use it every day, but if there is a recipe that I need to make, I throw it into Chat GPT as opposed to going to Safari and say, overnight oats with protein recipe. I'll go to Chat GPT and I'll say, I want to create overnight oats, but I want to use these particular ingredients. Create a recipe using these particular ingredients. It'll throw something out and I'll be like, okay, substitute that ingredient with this. Boom. Would it be better if I used this ingredient as opposed to that? And ChatGPT will say, well, here's some of the pros and some of the cons. That's mostly what I use it for. Also, speaking about Portugal, some of the places that we are deciding to go to is because I put into ChatGPT, create a 10-day itinerary going through Portugal. I'm going with my family along with my wife. So there will be a total of 5. I put all of this into ChatGPT. We are going and we are going to be staying in these cities. We would like to go to some museums. We would like to go on some excursions. We would like to go to some restaurants. We would like to go to some places of interest. Create an itinerary, 10 days for my family. And within probably a minute, it had a giant list of stuff for us to do in Portugal. And I showed my wife this and she's like, "Whoa, yeah, that restaurant your mom and I had talked about going there. That's crazy how there's and then there was things she was like, "Oh, I'll have to look into that. That place actually sounds pretty." And then she would look and then we're actually going to go there. So it's stuff like that which is very, very cool, which I really, really enjoy. Apple iOS 17. It's weird because I remember when iOS 10 came out. I was in high school. I was 2015. Maybe it came out, I want to say. I think so. I could be wrong. 2014 or something maybe. But anyways, let's do a little preview of this iOS 17 because I like this stuff. I think Apple is a very good thing, and I love about Apple in general is the customization and how personalized you can make it. You could the personalization of the home screen. I keep all of my apps in alphabetical order. So if you were to look at my home screen and you were to look up Twitter, you would go to my folder that has a T on it. So I really like that, as opposed to having your things grouped as games or social media or that. I prefer to have it as just alphabetical. Now you can run into some problems with certain things like Google Home or Gmail or Google Docs, Google Drive. I put all those in the G folder because I think of Google. I wouldn't put Google Drive in the D folder, Google Mail in the M folder. You get what I'm saying? So I really love that customization that Apple allows you to do. So this is one of the things that they talked about. When somebody calls you, you will see. Oh, this is what people will see when you call them. So somebody will pick up their phone and they'll see a picture that you choose. This I thought was kind of cool. Send a call to voicemail and see a live transcription of the message. Very cool. Once again, the technology that they use is good. They already kind of have that for voicemail now, but also that's just, hey mom, I figure what all that noise coming from the basement is. Huh? What's that supposed to mean? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, Apple. I don't what are you trying to say? Anywho, all your iMessage apps in one place. Tap the new plus button to view all things to send the most like photos. Okay, so that's a little bit different. Let's replay that again. Choosing that instead. of having that bar at the bottom. So pretty cool. Let your friends know when you arrive safely. Check-in automatically notifies your friends or family when you arrive at your destination, such as your home. Very important. Now, this is controversial. However, I like to share my location with my wife, and I think I share it with my mom. I might have stopped that, but I definitely share it with my wife. And one thing I'm always doing, because our schedules always change and we don't work the same hours each and every week, and sometimes I'll be home. Like right now, she's at work, I'm at home because I work 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. today. So that's why I'm able to record a podcast. However, this is something that I like, particularly for me. Like soon as I get home, boom, it sends a notification to my wife Leslie to let her know I'm home. And then I can be like, hey, instead of saying, hey, just got home, blah 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 blah. I'd like her for her to know where I'm at. And vice versa. I like to know where she's at if I'm waking up for something and I don't see that she's home. And I know usually she's home at this time. Boom, I just check her location. Oh, she's at the store. Oh, that's right. She has to get eggs. Oh, I forgot. Okay, I'll send her a text. Blah 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 blah. So I really love that feature. Yeah, I guess it's can be creepy if you're 3 months of dating and then you're like, yo, let me see your location so I can see where you're at. Oh, really? Or like one thing, I haven't done this, but not saying that I wouldn't either. Wouldn't. But if you see your significant other at the store and you're like, hey, what are you doing at the store? You need to come home right now. You need to do this, this, and that. It could become a problem because then you're spying on them and you're putting this negative energy into they're not home, they're out just doing whatever the hell they want to. It could turn bad. But in my relationship, it's been awesome. With check-in, your friend or family is alerted when you reach your destination. If you stop making progress, it checks in with you. And if you don't respond, it shares helpful information with your friend, like the location, battery level, and cell service status of your phone. Any information that is shared is end-to-end encrypted. That's really cool. That's really cool. Because I'll send something to my wife. I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna go pick up this thing from Facebook Marketplace. Uh, I'll let you know when I get there. And sometimes when you get there, you get out and you're talking to the person and you're just busy. You're there and you're just getting out of the car and you forget to send a text. What this will do is this will say, hey, so and so reached it there successfully. Catch up and swipe to reply. Let's see what this is. Okay. Catch up arrow lets you jump to the first message you haven't seen or conversation. You can swipe to the right on any message, send a reply. Let's replay this again. Okay. Okay, so a little bit of change there. Search filters, let's see, and messages. Very cool. I use this sometimes, but I wish there was a way that you could do it via image. Like there was a way that you could say, "Hey, I'm trying to find," like you could describe it. You could say, "I'm trying to find an image that I sent to my wife of pasta that I made. Can you find that picture?" Like obviously not that command, but something where you could find a picture that you had sent to a significant other, because sometimes I'll send a picture of like a document or something and I need to gain access to that. And as opposed to going into our conversation and then swiping up, or trying to go into the attachments folder and looking through that, and sometimes it's not there. A new way to share and view locations. Share your location or request a friend's location with the plus button. Okay. Roger that. Read an audio message transcription. Very cool. Audio messages are now transcribed so you can read them in the moment and listen later. That's cool. I don't use it though, but that is cool. All your stickers in one place. What? Latest renderings for the sushi car. What do you guys think? Interesting. Interesting. All right, stickers, create your own live stickers. Okay. Stickers in more places. Oh, that's Snapchat, right? Snapchat, email. Is that notes or is that freeform? FaceTime. Record a video or audio message if somebody misses your FaceTime call. Oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool. Oh, react with your hand. Add a reaction that fills the camera frame with fun 3D augmented reality effects like hearts, confetti, fireworks, and more. And you can share a reaction with just a hand gesture. That's really cool technology. Dang. FaceTime on Apple TV. Use your iPhone as a camera. Start a call directly from the FaceTime app on Apple TV or hand off the call from your iPhone to your TV. Okay, that's pretty cool. That would be helpful for family events, like say Thanksgiving. You have family in another country and you're at home. That'd be cool. As opposed to just holding up the phone and say hi to everybody. Say hi to everybody. As opposed to doing that, you could just do it from the phone. A new full screen experience. I did see this. This is the first thing that I saw about this. A new full screen experience. Standby gives you a glanceable information designed to be viewed from a distance. Turn your phone into a bedside clock. Showcase special moments on your photos from your photos and get the right information at the right time with widget smart stacks. That's pretty cool. I'll probably use that one down there. I like that stuff. Showing you the sunrise, sunset, all that stuff. Live activities in full screen. With live activities in full screen, you can stay on top of things happening in real time, like the scores of the game or the progress of your food delivery. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Siri takes Standby to the next level with rich visual results that can be viewed from a distance. Now even easier to check the weather or set a timer hands-free. One thing I have noticed about Siri is that it's just not, I don't know if they've been updating it or they are going to, but it has really been below average for quite some time when compared to something like a Chat GPT. You say, hey, and it's going to go off right now as I do this, but if you say, um, hey Siri, get me a recipe for strawberry cheesecake. And it just,
Okay, I found this on the web. Forget me a recipe for strawberry cheesecake. Check it out.
right. And you can ask it questions. You can say, you could ask specific, like something that would work for ChatGPT is, hey Siri, create me a list of the past 5 NBA champions. Siri's not doing that. ChatGPT can do that as well. And also, ChatGPT is actually very fun if you want to create false um situations. For example, you could say like write a story. I did this. Create a 500 word Marvel story where Superman and Spider-Man team up, but then Superman becomes a zombie and then Spider-Man has to take him out. And it writes a 500 page or 500 word story about this, and it's actually pretty enjoyable. Interactive widgets take action with just a tap. I use widgets all the time. Play the lights, play music, turn off the lights, and more right from a widget. So this isn't something that's new, but yeah. Okay. AirDrop is another thing that I saw. Very cool. Makes it so much easier as opposed to just here, take my phone and I'll give you the stuff. Hold your phone near someone else's phone or Apple Watch to use name drop. You'll both be able to choose the specific phone numbers or email address you want to share, and you can share them along with your contact poster instantly. AirDrop is really goated. I do have to say. Share with intention. There's a new way to share with those nearby. Simply bring your phones closer to initiate the transfer over AirDrop. That's pretty cool. Coming later this year, finish sending transfers over the internet. What's this? Content you share over AirDrop will continue to send securely and in full quality over the internet if you leave. AirDrop range and both you and your recipient are if you leave AirDrop range and both you and your recipient are signed into iCloud. Share play. Okay, okay. Hold two iPhone devices closely to instantly start a share play session. So that's pretty cool. Instantly watch content, listen to music, games, and more with share play. Interesting. I bet that could probably turn out bad, right? A new app to write and remember journal. That was pretty cool. Journal is a new way to reflect on and relive special moments, capture your thoughts on life's big events or everyday activities. Add details to any entries with photos, music, audio recordings, and more. Mark important moments and revisit them later to find new insights or set new goals. Journaling suggested personalized for you. No one but you can access the journal. Keyboard even more accurate autocorrect. Thank God. Predictions inline as you type. This is something that Gmail does, which helps out when writing emails. Tap the spacebar to finish words or entire sentences. Safari and passwords. All right. Faster, more relevant search. Enhanced private browsing. Autofill verification codes received in email. Okay. All right, I'll have to check that out because I do a lot of autofill for my passwords. Music, I do not pay for Apple Music, so that does not apply, but collaborate on playlists, invite friends to join your playlist, and everyone can add songs, reorder and remove songs, use emoji to react to the song choices in now playing. Share play as well. AirPlay. On-device intelligence learns your AirPlay preferences over time. AirPlay in your hotel room. Later this year, AirPlay will be available in supporting hotel rooms. Scan the QR code on your room TV, and you can securely share videos, photos, music from your iPhone to the TV. AirPods. AirPods Pro second generation, adaptive audio dynamically blends transparency and active noise canceling to tailor the noise control experience as you move between changing environments. That's pretty cool. Personalized volume uses machine learning to fine tune your media experience based off your preferences over time. Okay. Yeah, automatic switching. Download maps to use offline. Oh man, that's really cool. Like hours and ratings on place and get turn by turn directions. That'll be really cool. Because Leslie and we just went on a hike to Ohio State Park, south of here. And that was a lot of fun, but we lost service. So in the middle of our hike, we weren't able to see the trail. Um, More stuff with Siri, Spotlight. Okay. Okay. Visual lookups. This this will be cool as well. Find recipes for similar dishes from a photo. That's really cool. They kind of have that now. Like when I take a picture of my dog, Carmela, and then I click on her in the image, what will show up is a golden retriever dog, and it'll take me to Safari and give me a whole bunch of information. Look up what you just lifted. Yep. I do this sometimes. I'll take a picture of Carmela, and it's really cool because you click and hold on it in the Photos app, and then with your other finger, you can swipe out while still holding onto that thing. You swipe up, go over to messages, and plop that into messages, and it copies and pastes. I really like that feature. But now you can look it up. All right, health app. New mental health and vision health features provide powerful insights. Interesting, interesting. Communication safety, sensitive content warning. I'm sure that won't be abused or discussed as being unfair at all. Improved permissions, lockdown mode increases security to help protect against sophisticated cyber attacks. Sophisticated. Turn it on across all your Apple devices now, including Apple Watch, and so much more. Grocery list reminders. Grocery lists automatically sort items into categories to make shopping easier. Change how items are grouped, and the list remembers your preferences. PDFs, fitness. The redesigned sharing tab provides highlights of your friends. Create a workout and meditation schedule based on exactly how you want to. Apple Fitness Plus. Okay. News, photos, home, find my, let's see, freeform. I don't know of anybody who's used. I've used freeform once. I feel like it's something that should be used for the um the iPad rather than a phone because I just feel like phone screen is too small to use for that. But I bet there's many things. iPhone SE is able to have iOS 17. Perfect. Join the Apple beta software program. I might do that. I might do that. All right. Moving onwards, this story, I'm not going to read this, but I am going to say, please read this story. Intelligence officials say US has retrieved craft of non-human origin. This is a massive story. I'll read a little bit. A former intelligence official turned whistleblower has given Congress and the intelligence community inspector general extensive classified information about deeply covert programs that he says possess retrieved, intact, and partially intact craft of non-human origin. The information, he says, has been illegally withheld from Congress, and he filed a complaint alleging that he suffered illegal retaliation for his confidential disclosures reported here for the first time. Other intelligence officials, both active and retired with knowledge of these programs through their work in various agencies, have independently provided similar corroborating information, both on and off the record. The whistleblower, David Charles Grush, a decorated former combat officer in Afghanistan, is a veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and the National Reconnaissance Office. He served as the Reconnaissance Office's representative to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force from 2019 to 2021. From late 2021 to July 2022, he was the NGA's co-lead for UAP, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Analysis, and its representative to the task force. Read the rest of this. Is what he's saying real? The claims that he makes are literally earth shattering. If what he is saying is true, and also James Fox, Joe Rogan, watch that episode. I don't know the number of the episode, but watch it. Are are does the United States government and other governments on this planet, do they have evidence of life forms that are not from this planet? Do they? And if so, why not release that information? Why keep that information hidden? I don't know. I don't know. I that's it's one of the biggest questions that I have in life is, are we alone in the universe? And if the government is able to have graphs and life forms from another planet, possibly another universe or another galaxy, I feel like that should be public knowledge. Obviously, for my own bias, because I want to know. But if I'm in the government, why not release that? I don't know. But I don't know, man. This is a crazy, crazy article, very detailed, but is it the truth? I don't know. I want it to be. I want it to be. All right, Betelgeuse is much brighter than it should be, and scientists are stumped. The red supergiant star Betelgeuse is shining 50% brighter than usual. The cause is unclear yet, but astronomers are monitoring the situation closely to understand the change better. Interestingly, the star is not just a red supergiant. It is also a fascinating, pulsating, semi-regular variable star, so it changes in, I believe, brightness and temperature, is what that's saying. According to phys.org, that means the brightness of Betelgeuse changes periodically, though the amplitudes can vary. The primary cycle is approximately 400 days, during which the star experiences variations in brightness. It also undergoes shorter cycles, about 125 days, 230 days, and astonishing long 2,200 days, all driven by its pulsations. These intricate cycles can make it challenging to study and understand Betelgeuse. In October 2019, the star had dimmed considerably, eventually reaching 1/3 of its average brightness a few months later. This was caused by a piece of the star's surface being ejected into space. When it cooled, it turned into a dust cloud that blocked the light. The episode is known as The Great Dimming. The recent brightening of Betelgeuse has once again captured the attention of scientists who are eager to unravel its current evolutionary stage and understand the significance of its heightened activity. Then it talks about this paper that speaks about this. As a red supergiant, the star has moved beyond the main sequence phase for its life cycle, so it's towards the end of its life. Lot of supernova talks on recent podcasts, so I will not bore you with the details of getting older as a star and what our sun will do and what Betelgeuse is doing currently right now. Very cool. You can see Betelgeuse in the night sky, and I highly, highly recommend you do so. Betelgeuse has used up large amounts of hydrogen by fusing it into helium and releasing the lost mass as energy. That means it's no longer fusing hydrogen into helium anymore. When stars like Betelgeuse lose mass, the decrease in gravitational force can no longer counterbalance the outward pressure generated by its core, causing the star to expand into a voluminous envelope. Therefore, despite experiencing mass loss, the stars grow. The shift from the main sequence, coupled with hydrogen no longer being fused into helium into their cores, causes other significant changes. It all crashes down, boom, down to a spot because it gets too big and it can't hold that pressure on the outside. And then boom, it crashes in and it creates a big explosion, sometimes a black hole. Carbon gradually accumulates within their cores in the subsequent stage known as helium fusion. This accumulation, carbon, creates one of the major things in creating humans. This accumulation initiates a core carbon burning phase wherein other elements are synthesized. According to the paper's authors, Betelgeuse is currently positioned in the advanced stages of this core carbon burning period. It's difficult to know when it will go, though. But it is getting brighter. Milky Way signals from galactic center aliens say, oh no. Oh no, I didn't see this story. All right, I'll have to look at that later. I'll keep that tab open. All right, here's another thing about Betelgeuse that'll show you where exactly it is. Here's the constellation Orion, which you can see in the night sky. Boom. And then here they talk about this paper on the star. Here's the paper. I'll just pull this up. This is the paper, right? No, this is just a website. All right, so I guess they just have a link to the website. But anyways, Betelgeuse, this is some pictures of it over time, which is just very cool to see. January 2019, December 2019, January 2020, March 2020. You can see the brightness not only changes, but also specific points on the star where it changes. So it looks like it's rotating and it's like pulsating in and out almost. It's a big blob because it's so big. These images were taken with the Sphere instrument on ESO's Very Large Telescope during Betelgeuse's period of dimming. Starting in December 2019, Betelgeuse dimmed by a factor of around 2.5 from its original magnitude plus 0.5, reaching a low magnitude plus 1.6 from 7 to 13 February 2020, before returning to its normal brightness over the following few months. Astronomers now believe Betelgeuse's dimming was caused by a huge ejection of matter from the star, which cooled to form a dust cloud that temporarily blocked some of the star's light from view. It's highly likely that the after effect of this event is causing the brightening we see now. What type of star is Betelgeuse? It's a big ass star. It's a red supergiant star at around 8 million years old. It is in the latter stages of its life cycle. Think about how old our sun is. We're talking billions, but our sun is a main sequence star, so it's not as big, so it doesn't have as much fuel to run through as fast. But stars spend most of their lives fueled by converting hydrogen into helium. The energy produced supports the star against the crushing weights of its own gravity. For large stars, when this hydrogen runs out of the core, they instead begin to burn helium into carbon, and the resulting interactions throughout the star cause it to swell up into a red giant. Here's the $1 million question. When will Betelgeuse explode? And when it does, will we be able to watch it? They believe maybe 10 to 100,000 years it could explode. But it is important to note that it is gaining in brightness now, and it's some weird things going on with it, so maybe soon. We don't know. The star is in its carbon burning phase, as the research paper that was mentioned before predicts, then it could be on the shorter end of that, though it may still take several more centuries to burn through its remaining carbon. So most likely we will not be here. Meanwhile, if the star is still in its helium burning phase, as Monar thinks it is, then we could have a long wait for Betelgeuse to explode. Fortunately, determining exactly which state Betelgeuse is in, carbon or helium burning, is difficult to determine for two reasons. Firstly, despite being only around 500 to 600 light years from Earth, astronomers have struggled to pin down many of Betelgeuse's basic attributes, such as its age, mass, or even how far away it is, with the necessary precision due to the star's variability. Without knowing these, it is difficult to determine exactly where in its life cycle star is. Secondly, the carbon burning phase doesn't change the exterior of a star, meaning it will look the same regardless of whether it has just begun its burning cycle or is nearing its end. And then here's some more information. Orion, just kind of showing you what that star looks like in the constellation. Yes, it will go supernova, most likely later than sooner, but you never know. You never know with these things. And if it's 600 light years, if it explodes and it goes supernova right this instant, right now, in the year 2023, June 13th, it explodes right now, it will take at least 500 years for us to see it. So it could have exploded 500 years ago on the low end in terms of its light years and distance away from it. If it's 500 light years away and it exploded in the 1500s, we would see it just now. Just now, we would see it. So think about that. Anywho, all right, machine learning. Only a couple more stories. I promise. I have no idea how long I've been going, but we got this. Machine learning spots 8 potential techno signatures by Robert Lee. Or Robert Lee. I'm not sure. All right, this is space.com. Humans have 5 new leads in the search to find life beyond our solar system. Scientists are attempting to address the question, are we alone in the universe? Have used a new machine learning technique to discover 8 previously undetected, quote, signals of interest from around 5 nearby stars. The team applied an algorithm to previously studied data collected by the Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia as part of a campaign run by Breakthrough Listen, a privately funded initiative searching 1 million nearby stars, 100 nearby galaxies, and the Milky Way's plane for signs of technologically advanced life. And the project nearly didn't happen. I only told my team after the paper's publication that this all started as a high school project that wasn't really appreciated by my teachers. First author Pete Ma, now an undergraduate student at the University of Toronto in Canada, said in a statement. This isn't the first time that computer algorithms have been used to search the vastness of space for techno-signatures, technology-generated signatures that could mark other advanced extraterrestrial civilizations. All right. With our new technique combined with the next generation of telescopes, we hope that machine learning can take us from searching hundreds of stars to searching millions. That would make the process much faster because there are billions, trillions, quadrillions, centillions, I think, and sextillions, septillions, octillions, nonillions, decillions. I think I got all those numbers right. Classical, I lost my space. My fault. The researchers found that the key strength of the new algorithm was to organize the data from telescopes into categories, allowing them to distinguish between real signals and noise or interference. In many of our observations, there is a lot of interference. We need to distinguish the exciting radio signals in space from the uninteresting radio signals from Earth. To make sure that the new algorithm wasn't confused by signals originating from Earth, the team trained their machine learning tools to tell the difference between human-generated interference and potential extraterrestrial signals. They tested a range of algorithms, determining each algorithm's precision and how often it fell for false positives. The most successful algorithm combined two subtypes of machine learning: supervised learning, in which humans train the algorithm to help it generalize, and unsupervised learning that can hunt through large data sets for new hidden patterns. United in what Ma called semi-unsupervised learning, these approaches discovered 8 signals that originated from 5 different stars located between 30 and 90 light years away from Earth. Not that far away. Not that far away. The signals are convincing candidates for genuine technosignatures, according to Steve Croft, project scientist for Breakthrough Listen. First, they are present when we look at the star and absent when we look away, as opposed to local interference, which is generally always present. Second, the signals change in frequency over time in a way that makes them appear far from the telescope. Croft cautioned that in massive data sets that can contain millions of signals, a single signal could have both of these characteristics by sheer chance alone. It's a bit like walking across a gravel path and finding a stone stuck in the tread of your shoe that seems to fit perfectly. So although the researchers believe that these 8 signals resemble what a technosignature is expected to look like, they can't confidently say any or all of the signals originate from extraterrestrial intelligence. They're not saying that they are, but they're not saying that they're not. I'm impressed by how well this approach is performed on the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. With the help of artificial intelligence, I'm optimistic that we'll be able to better quantify the likelihood of the presence of extraterrestrial signals from other civilization. Quick pause. Think back to the intelligence officer saying that we have crafts. We have things of non-human beings from other planets. Basically saying that there are alien civilization artifacts on this planet. We have been visited. We have evidence. We have actual materials from another civilization on our home planet, and our government is not telling us. Combine that with this. There's 8 signatures. Now, maybe it's just chance, like he said, it's maybe it is just that these particular signatures fit into this data set in a way that the algorithm kind of puts out, oh, this is actually a fairly interesting one. This is a potential techno signature and potentially an intelligent civilization. Maybe. But also think back to somebody who worked for the government is now coming out and risking his reputation, his maybe his own personal safety to talk about the government's involvement with extraterrestrial civilizations. I don't know. I want it to be real so bad. I do not want to be alone in this universe. I want there to be abundance of life. Abundance of life. That's my hope. The team now wants to apply the same algorithm to data gathered by observations like the Meerkat array in South Africa. We're scaling the search effort to 1 million stars today with the Meerkat telescope and beyond. We believe that work like this will help accelerate the rate we're able to make discoveries in our grand effort to answer the questions, are we alone? Are they alone? There's more stuff on Betelgeuse. I think this is the actual paper. Yes, this is. The evolutionary stage of Betelgeuse inferred from its pulsation periods. Cornell University, astrophysics. Boom. 11 pages, 6 figures. You can read this little abstract right there. You can pause and read that if you want to. All right. Let's move on to the next story. Trump and Epstein. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein introduced me to Trump at 14. NBC News. Inside Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump's epic bromance. VanityFair.com. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein partied together. Washington Post. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein's connection. Explain. Esquire. Logs show Trump flew more often on Epstein jets than was previously reported. Miami Herald. Jeffrey Epstein said he stopped hanging out with Trump. Yahoo News. She say anything about me? Trump raised Ghislaine Maxwell. This is during her trial where he said, I hope she stays safe. Or he said something being like, I forget what he said, but look at to see what Trump said during the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. CNN.com. Accuser testifies Jeffrey Epstein brought her to meet, I would assume, Donald Trump. Jeffrey Epstein was a terrific guy, Donald Trump once said. New York Times. CNBC, Trump banned Jeffrey Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. Florida Times Unit, Trump called Epstein terrific guy before denying. Fox News, billionaire Dem mega donor bankrolling Trump's accuser, blah, blah, blah. Fox News. Senator Chuck Grassley. FBI redacted references to recordings and Biden allegations shared with Congress. Interesting video from Senator Chuck Grassley. Prepared floor remarks by Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa. The Biden Justice Department and FBI continue to hide information from Congress and the American people. This is yesterday, June 12th, 2023. I want everyone to remember that I've read the unredacted version. Bribery in politics. Politics is just, it's all on the up and up. There is no grand cabal of very powerful people who do everything in their power to protect each other, which includes fraud, which includes sex trafficking, which includes murder, silencing of opponents, political rivals, people they disagree with. Politics is a very clean and very, very not dirty at all game. Very good profession. Everybody who does it, very bad in the stock market. Surprisingly, you would expect them to have a lot of information about the market and which companies are going to be regulated at the, but they're just not that good. They are not as good in the stock market as you would expect. Something that I've never talked about on this podcast is politics, right? And guess what? The Democrats are worse than the Republicans, and the Republicans are worse than the Democrats. Anyways, final thing. We might have done 3 hours. I'm not sure. I checked the YouTube analytics. I know nobody has made it to this point. So at this one, I could just say whatever. That's why I throw this stuff in here, because I know nobody's gonna watch this. Nobody's watching this far unless it's way off in the future. However, last thing I want to say is I have been using the Jet Puffed loaded protein marshmallow flavor from Rise to make the best dessert and breakfast imaginable as a result of ChatGPT. So, first off, with the breakfast, pancakes. Using this stuff. Here's the recipe: 0.25 cups of water or milk. I've tried it with milk. It makes it a little bit fluffier, but it's a little harder to mix the protein powder. Okay. First thing, boom, throw the milk in there. Then 1 scoop, or I'll do 35, 30, 35, or 45 grams of protein powder. Plop it in there. Mix that up. Then take an egg, boom, crack it, pop it in there. Mix it up. It'll start to turn a little bit yellow, but you keep mixing it, keep mixing it, keep mixing it. Then it'll turn to more of a whitish color. Then add a teaspoon. I think it's a teaspoon of baking powder. And that is it. That is it. And I asked ChatGPT to create a recipe. Create a protein pancake recipe using, or I said something like make a very easy protein pancake recipe. And then it said you should add like chia seeds to it. I would say create a recipe without adding chia seeds. Okay, well, instead of chia seeds, use this. No, like I kept inputting until I got to this final product where it's ingredients everybody should have. Everybody has water. Everybody should have baking powder. Everybody should have eggs. It's 4 ingredients. It's really simple. The measurements aren't crazy. You don't have to weigh out your protein powder. You can just take what you think is a scoop, throw it in there. And make sure you add the milk first. The first thing I always add is the milk because I do not want anything to get in there. And as soon as you put the powder in, it'll splash up on the sides, right? And then you'll lose some of that protein powder in the mixing. And then when you try and pour it out, the liquid's going to go right over that section of where it splashed up against the side. That'll go into your mixture. And then when you eat it, you'll be like, what am I getting all these chunks of whatever this stuff is? So make sure the first thing you do is the liquid, whether that be water or milk. Anyways, folks, who knows how long I've been doing this? Oh, wait. I'm on. Dessert. Dessert, I forgot. Kirkland brand. If you have a Costco membership, the Kirkland brand, regular, no flavor, no sugar, nothing. Regular, straight up, plain yogurt, Greek yogurt from Costco. Take a couple of scoops of that. Once again, I'm not measuring. Boom. Throw that in a thing. Boom. Right on top of it, throw the Rise marshmallow. Mix it up. Bing, 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 bing. Get it from all off the sides of the bowl. Get all of it in there. And then what you'll do is you'll get all of that, put it in the freezer. Trust me, in the freezer for I've done up to like 20 minutes. That's probably the longest, but if you leave it in there for 10 minutes, it'll soften up a little or it'll harden up a little bit and it basically turns into kind of like pudding consistency almost. It's very thick because of the yogurt. But with this particular protein, it has it has a little bit of that vanilla flavor, but it also tastes like marshmallows. So it's very good, especially for cooking. I highly recommend that you use it for when you are cooking because particularly with this brand, they also use high quality protein as well. It's not crazy amount of sugars or anything, and it's not crazy amount of fat or anything like that. So it's not very calorie dense, which can help, especially if you're like me. Before going to Portugal, I'm trying to cut down. I think yesterday I weighed myself, I was 163, 163, I believe. But, anyways, who knows how long this podcast has come. You're going to be listening to this once again. If you made it to this far, thank you so much for listening. It means a lot that you'd even spend 10 seconds of watching a video. And if you're watching now, whether that's in 2023 or 3023, I really do appreciate it. And I know we started off the podcast on a somber note, but there's just some things in life where you have it on your mind all day. And I don't have the ability to sit down and express my thoughts. And there's so many things that soon as I turn off the camera and I shut this off, I'm going to be like, dang, I wish I said that about Stan. Dang, I should have mentioned this story. I'll never be able to give him enough praise, or I'll never be able to give him the props that he deserves because he deserves all the props because he was an absolute professional with me. And I can only speak on my experience with him. I don't know what he was like to any of my other coworkers or to my bosses or anything like that. I'm not going to speak to that. I'm going to speak to how he was with me and what he meant to me as a coworker and as a man who I knew for a very brief period of time, but somebody who made a profound impact, not just on the Pittsburgh community, but on a kid from a small town in Connecticut, Old Lyme, Connecticut. Thank you so much for listening. I truly, 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 truly appreciate you listening and tuning in. I'll see you probably after Portugal. This is the Zach Moore podcast. Thank you.